So let's prepare for the link. We've decided we're going to keep the square drive, aren't we? So just find a sacrificial socket that'll fit in there. We can weld this here. We can weld around the back of it. We can turn what was a spanner into the drive that we want. Yeah. So it doesn't particularly look very square. This is a bit on around there because of course it's not an end, is it? But we know these two faces run square, don't they? So if we tack this in here now, weld that in there, that will hold it in place. Then we can finish welding it. But we can either turn this that way or that way, whichever suits us. And it is going to run square simply because these jaws are square and that's in there, and I've given that a bit of a tug, and we've got a bit of movement in there should we need it. So I reckon now, just although it's not, well, there is no way of gripping, it's just got to be jammed in there and that's it. So weld that up now. One of the problems with welding in the vise, because you can't see, you usually hit the vise or weld. Many a times I've welded something to the damn vise when I wasn't meant to be there, and I've had a strike there as well. So I always like to weld away. So we've put a little tag on there now. Let's burn in here. Looking okay, except that's got a bit of the twist isn't right on that. That'll do. We'll live with that. Yeah, we'll live with that. So then, let's test out our theory. It's sort of, it's not quite 90 degrees, but it's near as damn it, isn't it? So we can do it that way, should we want to. Plus, we can do it this way, should we want to. Yeah, so I'm reckoning. Hold on. That didn't want to. That goes on that way, not bad. Yeah. With a bit of persuasion. Yeah. So that goes on that way. I did have it on just. This goes on this way. With a little persuasion. Hold on. Amend that. With a little more persuasion. Yeah, so with a little bit more persuasion, we've got a 90 degree here. That's in to the end, look. Yeah. And should we want to change our mind, we've got a 90 degree this way as well now. Little bit more persuasion. Right. Yeah, so I think that's going to do what we want to do just fine. So we've got ourselves a 90 degree turn, haven't we? So that's the end of the shaft. So what are we going to do here? Well, what are we going to prepare for here now then? See that? Oh, brings it out to, but if we turn it this way, look. We turn it that way, that gives us, that brings that here. So it's quite plenty of room to play with, isn't there? Yeah, we can have it there, should we want to. We can have it there, should we want to. Yeah. What are we going to prepare for here now? It's a bit of play. But there's no saying that same play that's in that will be in the same play as when we finish the shaft. That's not the real shaft. That's just a, test piece. So it's always worth testing and playing and messing with it. And if it all goes south, no big deal, because all we'll do, we'll warm this up and kink it in slightly without losing any strength. So we've come down of our shaft 90 degrees. could do, that would be quite nice, wouldn't it? A U-bolt. A shaft connected to the bottom of the U-bolt, but is it going to trap? Is it going to... It's not really running as smooth as we'd like it. But if we put some sort of shim in here, or a tube in here, and then the tube went around that, I think that we might have found a solution to our problem. Yeah, that's going to be dangling down, isn't it? Then that's going to be doing this, which will then be doing that, and that's what we want, isn't it? All we want is to shove the thing in and pull the thing out. Shove the thing in, locked and locked, locked and locked, unlocked and locked. Let's just try and tidy this up somehow. What we're going to do? What we're going to do there? Because it's okay putting and welding and burning, but you can't beat having the original, you know, keeping this whole. You can cut and you can burn a tube and you can do whatever and you can put a connection, but you can't beat using the original strength of the original thing. How are we going to make that work nicely now? So I was wondering, would this go through an R inch, and it wouldn't. So put a D-link, weld the socket in there, put that through there. Voila, we've made it, but it'd go through a 3/4, won't it? So the theory would work. You could do something like that, couldn't you? Put a socket on there and put a D-link through it. But it's a 3/4 drive. So what we can do now is we just find a smaller D-link. I'm sure we've got plenty of smaller D-links. We can put a small D-link through it, and that would create what we want, I think. Let's keep searching. Carried away, Reggie. I know you've got a big D-link. You got to keep the size and the weight. So no, don't be tempted by a big monstrous D-link. We've got to find a little one. So I knew I had one somewhere. I've got plenty of smaller D-links. This pin goes through there. Fine. It's not quite long enough or big enough, but we could cut that in half, couldn't we? And then we could put that in there. I think we're onto something. Let's see if we can get this to go through the spanner. So we're at the box of sockets. The socket has to fit inside there. That'd nearly do it. Ooh, that'd nearly do it. Put that in there. Cut the end of that off. Weld that into there. Ooh, yeah. I think that's going to do the trick. Let's try that. So let's test out the theory. This goes in, this reaches around that, so that's okay. So this will go down into there and through there, yeah, and this will fit in there. Let's cut it to size. Yeah, so I think it's just a case of cut this off here, weld that in there. I think the theory is going to work. So we're nearly there. This fits in there, which then that fits in there. Just needs this to be a bit, it's not quite, needs to be a bit thinner, so we need to cut this. We need to cut a quarter off this, I think. Yeah, let's cut a quarter off this and see how we get on. Except it's still hot. Oh, that's going to work. This inside that. Fine. Then this around that with the bolt going through it. Hold on a minute. So, there we are, look. Actually, let me turn that round. Let me show you. So, inside there is the socket. Can you see? Hold on, let's go to the light. Inside there is that socket, like a sleeve. Socket in there, running through here. That's a lovely link, and that's not likely to foul, is it? Not likely to trap itself. I'm a bit worried that this isn't meaty enough for the push and the pull, but we can maybe strengthen that. And how we're going to come straight off of here. But you know, we're getting closer all the time. That's going to be the push and the pull at the end of the shaft, isn't it? Yeah, so, and of course we have got an option to turn it inside out and outside in. So we've got that bit to play with. We've got the square drive here, down to here. Well, it'll be that way, won't it? It'll be that way. So I think we're on the right track, you know. Except this is a bit weak. How are we going to connect this now? Maybe it, maybe isn't. How are we going to connect this to a piece of rod? Careful what you stand on. Right. Don't trip up. Right. How do we connect that to this? Really good. And then basically we've got our... We're nearly there, aren't we? We're nearly there. How are we going to connect this to that next? What's the next? I've actually got an idea. We could put a square on the end of that, weld that together, and then cut a groove in here and sit this over it. Get a bigger one, sit this over it, and weld it in. That would do it, wouldn't it? Yeah, cut a slot in here, cut a slot in there, and weld it together. A bigger one of these we want. Let's go find one of them. So here on inwards, I'm going to let you hang in, but that could be welded into there. So there's our shaft, pushing and pulling. This could be squeezed into there, ground or cut or welded, and we could make that into a really good connection, couldn't we? That would then be connected to the spanner here, which would then be connected to the rod, I think. That's all you're going to get for now. I'm just waiting for it to dry a bit. And the next thing, we've got to put this back into the wall, haven't we? Let's get this shaft, put it back into the wall. Go and get that washer, finish that job off. I'm going in now. But I'm going to leave you with that tease. Definitely put a washer there before we put it back in the wall. Put this back into the wall again. Have the shaft coming out of the end here, coming down, doing the pushing and pulling motion, and this connected to that via the shaft and the socket. So we've got that motion in place as we go from one to the other. Turn that, turn this, turn that, turn this. Ooh, I think we've got it. By George, we've got it. Yeah. It's better to plan this end before you get there, because once this post, now this goes back in, and of course once you've put concrete around the hole we've made to put it in, that'll be fixed. There's no turning back. Yeah, there's no turning back now. I think we've sussed it out. You leave your shed when you've been welding, put the lights out, see if you can see something smouldering away in a corner somewhere, or see any smoke raising, because you don't want to shut the door and find out that something's still on fire. Yeah, it's been a while since we've done a bit of welding, so it's pretty safe. But all this gunk This is sawdust and filings, and we've had a few little fires here already. But I am going to get to clear it. I keep getting distracted, don't I? But yeah, I will get to clearing it. I've got a whole retirement life to get this all tidied and cleared, and each step is a little closer. But I keep getting distracted with a much better idea. I'd much rather make a secret lock than tidy up. You know that, don't you?